Yep, yeah, it's a coming out video. Is it, as you expect, a comically late coming out video? I mean, it's what you've come to expect from me, isn't it now? So, no, it's not, because Pride Month is over and now it's Disability Awareness Month. So I'm actually coming out about something else. Oh boy. This is a very awkward video for me to make. I've been trying to make it for a year now. And also, congratulations to many of you who guessed that this video was coming because you diagnosed me again in the comment. For anyone who's new here, I got diagnosed with EDS by my subscribers. I've got ADHD. No one's shocked. No one is shocked. Except for me, the only person shocked by this. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder. That's a term describing a nervous system that developed differently whilst your brain was still in its plastic, fetus, childlike state. This leads to abnormal brain function which impacts memory, self-control, learning ability, and even your emotions. It is quite literally a brain that is wired differently. ADHD is characterised by excessive amounts of inattention, hyperactivity and impulsivity that are impairing in multiple contexts and pervasive. It's everywhere. The whole brain has it. It's in there. You can't make it stop, even when you really need it to. The precise causes of ADHD are unknown in the majority of cases, but genetic factors play an important role. ADHD tends to run in families and has a heritability rate of 74%. There are 3 primary types of ADHD: predominantly inattentive, predominantly hyperactive impulsive, and combined type, inattentive. This type of ADHD has symptoms including being easily distracted by extraneous stimuli, including, thoughts in older adults and teenagers. Frequently does not finish following instructions, failing to complete tasks, struggles to organise tasks and activities, to meet deadlines, and to keep belongings in order. It makes you frequently overlook details or make careless mistakes, and I actually hate the word careless. I make careless mistakes all the time, except they're not careless because I really do care. I just have an inconsistency of attention. Well, this is the type for no focus forgetfulness. Hyperactive. Can't sit still during dinner, class or meetings, often fidgeting or squirming in your seat. Constantly restless and cannot quietly engage in leisure activities or play to the extent that you need to actively do something else whilst watching TV or during video game loading screens. Hyperactivity type. The person who frequently seems to be on the go or appears uncomfortable when not in motion. They talk excessively, including struggling to wait their turn, answering a question before it's finished, or finishing people's sentences for them. Yeah, it's not just running around. Combined type. You get it from the name. As the name suggests, it's the other two together. So I've always known that my brain is a bit different and it works in a very alternative way, its own way. It does its own thing. Growing up, I felt like living in my brain was somewhat akin to sitting there with 20 televisions on and 5 radio stations, and I've got 10 books in front of me that I'm trying to read and 5 open notepads, and at the same time there are these 3 different people standing there and they're trying to talk to me and have conversations with me, and I'm trying to converse with them, but also I'm writing and I'm reading and I'm looking and I'm listening. I've got a lot going on right now, and that was just constant growing up all the time. And my parents just told me that I was very highly sensitive and high energy and neurotic. So I was like, okay, I guess that's just how brains like mine are. That's normal. It did make life a bit hard, but it also made it, the main difficulty for me was the utter inability to connect with the world. So I've found it quite hard to be able to make memories or engage in what was going on around me. And this sounds really weird if you say it out loud, but because there's so much going on in my head all the time, as a child I wasn't 100% sure on what was real, like which line of visuals that I was in my awareness was the real one or the correct one, or which one I should be paying attention to. So sometimes I just wasn't paying attention to the one that was actually real. So then I just I wasn't paying attention to it, so I just don't have the memory of that. So I have a lot of dissociation, according to my therapist. Yeah, I got diagnosed with dyslexia instead of ADHD, which in retrospect was an interesting choice, considering I had the reading age of an adult at the age of 8. And also now I can actually spell pretty well, so this is I've already gone off track. But it was the 90s and I wasn't very hyperactive. I was just a very dreamy child, so, and a girl. So girls and women with ADHD tend to display fewer hyperactivity and impulsivity symptoms, but more symptoms of inattention and distractibility. I say tend to, because guess who has the hyperactivity type? This gal. Don't worry though, I also have chronic fatigue. So I'm actually yawning because I said chronic fatigue. That's the worst thing my body did. Yeah, so my hyperactivity is mainly all internal, as is my impulsivity. Do I randomly blurt things out? Yes. Do I climb things because they look cool? No, I'm too tired for that. However, since it's easier to notice and then seek diagnosis for the child kind of running around the room screaming than it is the child staring out of the window having 5,000 thoughts a minute and surviving on 2 hours of sleep a night, more hyperactive types tend to be diagnosed than inattentive types. So more boys than girls are diagnosed, and when it comes to adulthood, it's fun being a lady. Which is totally something for a whole different video because, that's a subject in itself. So that wasn't a thing. People don't really think of ADHD and girls like that, even though, fun, when I went to go and get properly diagnosed, and I took this test, they give you this special test, which is you have to pass these markers for signs that you have ADHD now as an adult and signs that you would have had passed the test for ADHD as a child as well. And I took the child one and I was like, whoa, look at me go. Oh, almost full marks. Brilliant. Woohoo. Excellent. I'm really knocking this one out the park. Wow. So I recently made a video about executive functioning issues, which I suffer with a lot. And put it down to just being I put it down mainly I think to my brain damage, which is fun and understandable because when I was 17 I had a medical procedure and it went wrong and it hurt part of my brain, and brain stuff, when the brain goes wrong it goes wrong and that's just what happens. Da-di-da-di-da. And and if you were wondering, yes, I do this with my hands a lot, mainly off camera, or it gets cut, so, but I've decided not to do that now. Hi. Why not? Why not? Yay, it helps me feel better. Yeah, so anyway, executive functioning issues. And a lot of you in the comments were like, goodness, Jessica, this sounds a lot like ADHD. And I was like, yeah. But it's not like the first time that anyone's mentioned that. I would say in the 7 years that I have been making YouTube videos, the does Jessica have ADHD comment has come up a lot. And I didn't really take that much notice. I didn't really kind of go, yeah, maybe I do, until Rupert was born, actually. So until 2 years ago. And I think it was largely just because other friends of mine who do have ADHD and have been diagnosed with ADHD for a long time were like, Jessica, the things that you put down to brain damage are remarkably similar to the traits of ADHD. And I was like, intriguing, fascinating. But the thing is, I have a large gap in my memory from that time in hospital, which a lot of it is obviously down to being so ill that I wasn't able to remember stuff very well, but a lot of it is also just down to trauma. Like it's a not great Pandora's box of traumatic memories and awfulness that lives in my mind. And do people tell me I should go and get therapy for it? Yes. Do I think that's not helpful? Yes, because I'm not going to open that box. It's fine, it can sit on a shelf. But it does mean that I don't know much about that time. But I did start to realise that actually there are lots of things I've never been good at that I put down to, oh, I stopped being able to do that because my brain was damaged at 17. And then I actually thought about it and realised, oh no, wait, I could never do that. I was damaged from the start. Cool. I know that damaged isn't like the best, most correct wording to say that my brain is wired differently. And I do apologise for that if that is upsetting for someone. And I don't feel negatively towards my brain when I say that my brain is damaged. I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's fine to say that I had brain damage. It's okay. It's not a pejorative term, but I don't see ADHD as a damage to the brain. It's a different wiring of the brain. But interestingly, when I did get diagnosed, the doctor that I spoke to did also say that the interesting thing about ADHD is that the reason it's become quite common and you often see it with something else is that once something goes wrong with your brain, ADHD is the most likely thing to happen. So if you have a wiring problem, and what do I have a wiring problem? I have a neurological disability, my nerves are not right, that the most obvious follow-on will be ADHD. If there's something wrong in your brain, ADHD is going to follow that. I was like, oh, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I did not have a good, enjoyable brain scenario as a baby, so yeah. So clearly, yeah, I was up there. It was for once a test I was rather good at. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. I spent my childhood either getting like 100% or 2% on tests. That was on everything. But also on everything in life. Like, I had to take an IQ test as part of my dyslexia test because they do that to make sure that it's not another reason you can't read. I can read though, so why was I taking a dyslexia test? So many questions. I have like a 99th percentile for visual IQ, which essentially means that I'm really good at stacking things in the fridge. Easiest way to explain that. I can very easily stack things and like, what's that game? Tetris. I'm very good at Tetris. And I have an under 1% for phonological awareness, which, I mean, I am deaf though. So I do feel like that should come into that. Also a range of other things. I just thought that was the funniest one. So I went to my GP and asked him about getting a referral to a psychiatrist to talk about ADHD. And he told me that the wait list was 2 to 3 years. And I was like, cool, that's great. I'm struggling right now. Having a very small newborn child was making things a bit harder. So 2 to 3 years was not working out for me, and thus going private seemed to be the best option. Yes, there was a need to get tested. So I reached out to a lovely friend who had just gone to get her test done. Rowan Ellis, it's Rowan Ellis. I asked Rowan Ellis. Rowan Ellis has an amazing video about her path to an ADHD diagnosis. Very much recommend. I'm going to put the link to that in the description, and also you can go watch here on this little card right there. Go and watch that, it's a wonderful video. I completely forgot to mention this whilst filming originally, but when I made my autism and media tropes video, I also went down a kind of ADHD whole research wormhole and had a, wow, this sounds just like me, how funny kind of moment, but I got decision paralysis because I didn't think I perfectly fit the symptoms, and I didn't send the emails I wanted to send until I then saw Rowan's video, which talks about the symptoms other than the ADHD stereotype of a 7-year-old boy who kind of runs around everywhere. So thank you again, Rowan. So I reached out to Rowan and she recommended her doctor, but her doctor was actually retiring, but then he recommended another doctor. So then went to that doctor, but then I think that doctor couldn't see me, so recommended someone else who was also at the same practice. Anyway, I went through like so many different people and I think sent out like 8-10 emails to different places, did not hear back from anyone except for the one that Rowan had recommended, who recommended someone else, and finally found a lovely doctor who was really, really nice. And I think the loveliest thing was that when you get sent the forms that you do before you go in for the assessment, it's very kind of easy to go, oh, like I'm second guessing myself. Like, what, you know, here it is on the form and it says this, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously I am like that, but maybe everyone else is. Maybe everyone's like this, you know. I mean, I'm ticking this, but I mean, maybe most people tick this. I don't know whether this is going to actually add up to kind of get me over this diagnostic line. Maybe I'm below the line and I actually need to buck up a bit. Which, even if you are beneath that line, no, you absolutely do not need to buck up a bit. That's ridiculous. You are pretty darn close to that line, so clearly there's a little bit of extra stuff going on in your brain right there, and you could definitely benefit from some ADHD coping strategies. Just saying, okay? Don't discount yourself just because you don't pass the magic line. That's not... No. So anyway, when you're taking these and you're a bit like, I don't know, because I'm not actually talking to a professional, it's just a piece of paper and me. And they get someone who is close to you, which can be either a parent or they like it to be someone who sees you a lot. So mine was Claudia, obviously, because I'm like, my spouse spends every moment of every day with me. So she filled in a form about what I'm like as well. She was like, oh yes. Can't cook a meal without it taking 4 hours. Don't let her loose with a knife. She'll chop her own fingers off. But you don't really know. No. And then I went for the assessment, and it was one of the most empowering experiences I've ever had. It was really lovely because she gave me examples of my life that I had not even known were examples of ADHD. Some specialists have suggested the following as a list of symptoms associated with ADHD in adults: carelessness and lack of attention to detail, continually starting new tasks before finishing old ones, poor organizational skills, inability to focus or prioritize, continually losing or misplacing things, forgetfulness, restlessness and edginess, difficulty keeping quiet and speaking out of turn, blurting out responses and often interrupting others, mood swings, irritability and a quick temper, inability to deal with stress, extreme impatience, taking risks in activities often with little or no regard for personal safety or the safety of others, for example, driving dangerously. There may be a reason I still don't have my driving license. I think I'm great at driving. No one else does. But it was more than just saying, yes, you have ADHD. It was the fact that as she was going through things with me and talking me through the questions of, well, how did you do academically in school? What was this like for you? Did you struggle to make friends as a teenager? Did you struggle to keep your friends? I'm like, I was great at making friends. Could I keep them? No. Can I respond to anyone's text messages? No. I'm so sorry to everyone who ever texts me ever. I will eventually reply to you within the year. But as I was talking, she was so empowering and kept saying, well, that's really amazing that you did that. That's really wonderful that you were able to complete that. Or that really shows that must have been an incredible struggle for you. Yes, that was actually. Yes, yeah, that was a struggle. Or she'd say something like, oh, people with ADHD tend to find that it's very difficult to go to a campus. We were talking about universities, and she said people with ADHD tend to find that it's very difficult to go to a non-campus university. And I was like, oh, yes, yeah. I found it particularly hard, actually, that my university wasn't a campus and that I had to move around the city a lot. And she was like, well, it's really wonderful then that you were able to. And I thought, well, but I didn't get to every class, and I didn't manage to always do things in time, and I had to get extra time for things. She's like, but you completed it, didn't you? Yeah, but I didn't get the grade that I really would have wanted. She's like, but you did it. Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. For some reason, that made me feel better than anyone. Oh God, right, now I cry. But yeah, for some reason, that made me feel better. Than anyone has ever made me feel about the struggle that was my university experience. Just because she said it in such a generalised way, for some reason it just hit me. When it was like, people with this condition find this hard. Obviously it was hard for you. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, good. Oh, it wasn't just me. She's like, yeah, and then you've got physical disabilities too. And I'm like, yeah, that was pretty difficult. Yeah, I did struggle a lot. And that was just really nice. That meant more to me than my freaking diploma. Which, so what? It's a piece of paper that has some numbers on. I don't even know where that is, to be honest. One of the main things that my friends have asked me when I say like, oh, I diagnosed with ADHD, is why, which is sort of interesting because I didn't question why beforehand. But I think they sort of want to know what my intentions were. Like, what do you hope to gain from having another diagnosis? Oi, I don't love that for me. Not that you should ever feel bad about having more than one thing. Hey, often things are comorbidities. That's how bodies work. If they're like cogs in a machine, if one cog is wonky, then it's going to set the other cogs off. Bodies do that. So my body is full of wonky cogs. But the main things that I wanted to get out of it were, firstly, just kind of a sense of knowing why I'm like this. My friend Andrea has this theory that everyone has a word that cuts them to the core. The one word that can hurt you deeply. And to me, it's useless. I hate that word. It really upsets me. And it's probably the word that I have often had used about me. Because I'm not great at day-to-day stuff, that's fair to say. I guess I'm not great at the kind of things you would deem adulting. I don't love that about myself. And I really wanted to have a reason as to why. I wanted there to be something that would explain to me why, when I try to do the laundry, I spend an hour cleaning the drawer that you put the laundry detergent into rather than just putting it into the machine and walking away. We've got other things to do. Or if I'm trying to, unstack the dishwasher, why does it take me so long? Because I just stare into space. What was I doing? What was happening? Where does the time go? So many questions. What do I do with my time? Why do I get sucked into things and then I'm unable to pull myself back out? Whilst the classic idea of someone with ADHD might involve a person who struggles to focus, it's actually just that we can't manage our focus. A task we aren't particularly interested in completing, I can't make my brain turn towards it. Something I find interesting or rewarding, even if other people think it's hard and boring, 12 hours of not stopping to eat later, I realise I've been completely absorbed in the task and haven't even been to the toilet. This is called hyperfocus. If I will read an article about something, an in-depth piece of hard-hitting journalism from, years ago on a topic that isn't massively relevant to my life or the state of the world or current days, but just interests me in that moment in time, and I will open that web page at 11 p.m. whilst I'm brushing my teeth, and whoopsie, now I've fallen down a rabbit hole and I don't get into bed until 1:30 when Claudia comes into the bathroom to wee and goes, "Go to bed." Why do I do this to myself? Yeah, so I just needed a reason for that other than I'm useless. Why can't I keep track of the days? Why don't I know what month it is? Why am I not super sure who people are? Like, I just can't pay attention when they tell me their names. Or, I do not know. Oh my God. So I wanted to know why that was happening to me. And I've always been this way, and I want to know why. It's really nice to know why, and to know that that's just that. Yeah, that's just it's just me. That's just who I am as a human being. I can try to overcome this. I have more awareness of myself now. I am aware that this is an ADHD problem, so I know not to allow myself to fall into the trap. I know my danger zones. Don't go near the danger zones. No, no, no. No phone at 11 p.m. when you're in the bathroom, or you could get sucked in and then you're not coming back out. Just knowing these things about myself is helpful. And also means that when it does happen, I can forgive myself. Why am I incapable of cooking a meal for my child in under 45 minutes? Because I have ADHD. It's a thing. It just is. Do I need to cook him a meal? Okay, well, let's schedule in an hour, shall we? There's my hour. He'll have a meal at the end of it. And the second thing that I wanted to get from getting diagnosed was meds. Medication. Yes, go on. Put more in there. I already take a large amount of medication thanks to my chronic pain and neurological issues. I don't know how to describe that. But hey, now at least I have ADHD medication. I had to try a few different ones till I found the one that works for me. Everyone's different. Very interestingly, I have a problem with emotional regulation. Part of my ADHD, did you know? Emotional regulation can be part of, emotional dysregulation can be part of ADHD. I feel emotions incredibly strongly, very, very strongly. So I will cry a lot at adverts. When I'm sad, I'm like really sad. But if I'm happy, I'm like really happy. And I can be like switched out of it quite quickly. They're all over the place. It's like this is so reductive and I apologise deeply, but it's a little bit like having your period all the time. I know. I'm so sorry. But then I found the correct ADHD meds for me on the correct dosage. I take 20 milligrams of the med that works for me. I'm not going to go into meds very much because we all have different bodies and the thing that works for us is going to be completely different. So, you know, if I tell you, oh, this is the best thing, oh, it's amazing, brilliant, I mean, it's not going to work for you necessarily. That's not really how it goes. I can tell you coping strategies and things like, have you tried Google Calendar and colour blocking the calendars and how amazing that is, and it really helps you to sort through and visualise what it is you need to do that day. That is a wonderful coping strategy. That is something I can share. But I think medication is very specific, and, you know, talk to your doctor. I'm not your doctor. But interestingly, this is something that I think is quite universal with ADHD meds, is that taking 20 milligrams of the correct medication that works for me, I'm able to emotionally regulate much better. I just feel that my emotions are more in they don't hit the top range so much or so quickly, and they don't move around so much. I don't like jump between emotions so quickly and so often. I'm much more in the, okay, it's cool, it's fine, no big. You can say something mean to me and it's not gonna super upset me. Days and days, oh my god. I might just be more like, wow, that was really mean. How harsh. But it won't literally keep me awake for the next 3 nights. That's a lie. It used to keep me awake for 2 weeks. I still sometimes have nightmares about the ones that got stuck in my head when I was a child. Oy. Anyway, emotional dysregulation, guys, that's a bad one. But I started taking the 30 milligram dosage because I noticed that my meds were trailing off mid-afternoon and I needed the little energy pump to get me to the end of my working day so I could stay focused. I'm super focused right now, can't you tell? And it did not work. Did not work. The emotions were all over the place again. I would even dare to say, depressed. I was sad. Really sad. Every day at 6 p.m, on the dot almost, I burst into tears. And that's really quite bad because that's the time we sit down with Rupert to eat. So we were sat at the kitchen table with Rupert and I'd be like, oh, over nothing. And he's just sat there like, Mama's sad. Mama's crying. Oh, Mama need a hug. Yeah. And bless him, he's so sweet. He'd be like trying to make me feel better. And he'd like give me food as if that would help me. But interestingly, fun facts all around, guys. Fun facts all around. So, fun fact, adult ADHD and joint hypermobility are highly associated with a 5-fold increase in odds. If you have autism, ADHD or tic disorder, you're more likely to have joint hypermobility than neurotypical people. Who knew? Neurodivergent study participants also report significantly more symptoms of pain and dysautonomia. You can kind of click the card up here for a video where I explain what dysautonomia means because that is a confusing word, I understand. Interestingly, when I started taking my medication for my ADHD and I found meds that worked for me, I noticed an improvement in my hypermobility related symptoms too. I mean, not my insomnia though, because when we were in Malaysia for a month this January, my blood pressure stayed a lot more stable than it normally does in the heat, and my joints swelled less and I had a lot more energy than previous trips, and I just wasn't passing out, dying. Claude's family there also remarked on the change, so it was noticeable to other people. And I definitely feel it's a change in me physically, particularly with how my body just isn't giving me as much grief as it used to. So yeah, ADHD meds, they are working for my brain and the rest of my body. So, where do we go from here? Obviously, there's the telling people thing. I mean, here I am telling you, so there we go. Am I coming out to many people I know via this video rather than telling them? Yes, I am. Yes. Is that because I'm kind of scared to tell them in person or via some kind of text? Yeah. So since being diagnosed, I have to, well, obviously I've told Claudia. I mean, that'd be pretty weird if I didn't. I made her take the test with me. I haven't really told a huge number of people. Interestingly, I've kind of told all the new people I've met. Not all of them, only if it's come up. I think 2 days after I got diagnosed and had my assessment, I went to a garden birthday party for a baby. I go to a lot of baby birthday parties now. And I just randomly told some like baby friends of ours because we were talking about whether our houses were messy or not. And I was like, oh yeah, well, you know, I have ADHD, so blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, and they didn't know that it was a new thing for me to say. And that was really nice. I was like, oh, you really like that? Oh. So it's there's something quite freeing about being able to say it to new people. Like, yeah, no, and this is the thing I've always known this about myself. Oh God, I wish I'd always known this about myself. My life would have been a lot easier if I'd always known this about myself. Like, if I'd just been diagnosed as a child, what a different view I would have. I feel like there would have been less fighting. Like, I've always been quite positive about myself, and I've had to forcibly be kind to myself, but I think there would have been less struggle, less internal. I wouldn't have had to crush down the I'm useless, I hate myself feelings and turn them into something else if I'd known this. Because now I'm like, that's fine. I did pretty well, considering. So yes, there are many people I haven't told. Quite a few of them because they've said negative things about ADHD in my presence in the past. And thus I don't want to tell them. A couple of them, I was like, should I talk to them about ADHD? I'll put some feelers out. Let's just bring up ADHD as a topic, see how they react. And I got back some quite like, oh, that's, whew, wow, what unfriendly and un-PC opinions. My gosh. How about I never share my inner thoughts with you ever again? Yet here I am sharing them in a YouTube video, so apparently I like you more than I do those people, so. No, we're not going to live in shame. This is ridiculous. No, I refuse. There is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It's other people who have the incorrect ideas about ADHD, and that is on them. Yes, anybody who has strange, bizarre thoughts about neurodiverse people, who doesn't understand that brains can be wired in all sorts of different ways. It's just a very unfortunate soul, really. That's very sad for them. So, in terms of coming out videos, I wouldn't say that this one is probably like the world's most shocking video that anyone's ever seen. But you know, I was shocked to discover this about myself. But in many ways, discovering this new thing about myself has been incredibly empowering and wonderful. I feel so much better about myself, knowing why my brain works this way, is this way. It's just nice to know things about yourself and to have a deeper understanding how you work as a little human being, you know? To realise that there are things about yourself you can't really change, but to see that that's where the beauty lies. Because we're all, as humans, given our lot in life, right? We all have whatever it is that we start off with. And I just really like knowing now what it is, why I'm like this, why I have such gaps. There's something very dehumanizing, in a way, about having gaps from dissociation. Other people have a greater knowledge, understanding, and awareness of your own life history, story, and the way you move through the world than you do, because they remember it, they were there, and you're like, oh, that's cool, I was there, but I wasn't paying attention, so I've got absolutely no clue. Brilliant. And they can tell you absolutely anything about what happened. And you just kind of have to believe it and go along with it. Sure. Okay, right, I guess that happened. It sucks, and I hate it. But also, if you specifically do have gaps in your memory, but no other symptoms of ADHD, do go and get that checked out as well. Is that like the motto of this video? Go get checked out. Go get checked out. Speaking of, here are the signs that you should go and get checked out by a doctor in case you might have ADHD. If you think you or your child may have ADHD, speak to a GP or primary care physician, if that's what you call them in America. Your GP cannot formally diagnose ADHD, but they can discuss your concerns with you and refer you to a specialist for assessment if necessary. I should note it may take a while because the waiting lists can be varied. When I first went to the GP, it was a waiting list of like 2 to 3 years, but I do have friends who've gone more recently and their waiting list was only 6 months, so they may refer you for an assessment if you were not diagnosed with ADHD as a child, but your symptoms began during childhood and have been ongoing since, which is important because symptoms have to not be explained by a mental health condition. Your symptoms need to also significantly affect your day-to-day life. So for example, if you're underachieving at work or finding your intimate relationships difficult, which is something that I talked about a lot with my assessor, not because I find intimate relationships difficult, more because you have to go through a checklist and they're like, does your life reflect this, 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 and this? And I was like, wow, that's a lot of stuff. My life is a lot more boring than that. Largely because I'm terrified of the impulsivity that lives inside me, so I've never allowed it to come out. As a small child, this does not relate to the part that this video, the section that this was meant to be, but as a small child, I made all these rules for myself because I knew that I had something within me that was very, very impulsive and also incredibly hyper, had a lot of energy, quite out there, and I was kind of afraid of that and I didn't like getting in trouble, so I made myself life rules to follow that included things like not eating chocolate ever. I know, very interesting. Some of them got a bit intense for a while. I trained myself to only ever sit straight, very, very upright, then developed a scoliosis anyway. Joke's on me. Still very straight. I trained myself to brush my teeth 5 times a day. That's excessive. You don't need to do that. You'll brush your gums away. Yeah, stopped doing that once my dentist told me that that was going to happen. Then had an internal crisis about it, obviously. I Yes. But yeah, things like anything that might be deemed illegal, I was against the rules that I made for myself when I was 7. And still have to live by the majority of them. What happens if I don't? Good question. Oh, I have no idea. I don't want to find out. My internal world implodes, I imagine, is the answer to that. Let's never find out. Okay, bye. So there you go. If that's you, go talk to a doctor. And we can be pals. We can be ADHD pals. Because, gosh, do neurodivergent people just find each other. Thanks for listening to my coming out story. I appreciate it. Please comment below with let me know your story, because you guys are amazing. You told me to go and get myself checked. Got myself checked. You were right. Again. The internet. Turns out you don't need to use Google as a doctor. You could just make a YouTube channel and people will leave comments. This is quite freeing. I like this. I will see you in my next video, which will be a Q&A about ADHD. Follow me on Instagram, where I will be asking the questions to go along with this video. It's at Jessica Out of the Closet. There will be a link in the description down below, so you can very easily click on that. I'll leave it as the second link, so you don't even have to click on that and then go looking for it and then get lost because you looked on something else, and there are a lot of links down there. Thanks, friends. See you soon.